Good morning, art students. This is the Crazy Art Lady, Jeannie King, and I am here to talk to you about color. Here's where we're getting into some really fun stuff. Color. It's hard to imagine a world without color, but we're going to start by really adding some color to our paintings. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting with a very simple palette, okay, the paint box. We want to have, a paint box. We want to have a palette. We want to have a brush, either a number 4 or a number 6 brush, something big enough to cover. We want to have some drawing paper because this is going to be a take or toss. I like to have my color wheel here so I can see what I'm doing, because today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about mixing colors. Now, first thing that you want to do is you want to realize that you're going to be working with blue, red, and yellow, and these are called the primary colors. Primary colors only, guys, okay? We're going to be mixing our colors today from those, and so you might have just a blank piece of paper. You might have a handout that has spaces that you can color in, but it's really not that necessary. So let's go ahead and start. Oh, you want to have water, nice clean water, okay? So I'm going to put this off to the side here, and I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my color wheel. Now, on the color wheel, you can see that we've got yellow and blue and red, which are going to be the first ones, the first colors we're going to lay down. You can't make these colors. These are called the primary colors, and all color kind of comes from these. Now, remember when you were little and you had that first day of school, and it was so awesome because, one of the things that was on your desk is usually a brand spanking new box of crayons. And maybe 16, maybe 24, and you just thought, oh, these are great. I mean, I can smell them right now. They were just great until you looked over and some kid brought in the 256 crayon box, and you looked over lustfully going, oh, the art I could make with that. Well, the thing about color mixing is the fact that you don't have to depend on Crayola or some other company to mix all your colors. Once you know a little bit about color theory, color harmonies, you can make it all. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I want to do is I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to take my paint box and I'm going to tap some water into the red. These are the only colors I'm going to use today, the red, and some water into the yellow. Okay. Let's get a nice hefty amount here. Okay, and tap some water into your blue. Now, what's going to happen here is we're going to be able to mix up our color from here. So I'm going to start with the yellow because that is the color that sometimes gets, I don't want to say damaged, but I guess I'm going to have to say damaged because that's the one that gets, we spoil the integrity of the color by mixing it with other things so often. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of roll this around in here. And if you wanted to, you could use one of your camel hair brushes for this mixing part. And in the great big spot in the middle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start loading up with a lot of yellow. And I want to really mix up a lot of yellow today, and a lot of red, and a lot of blue, because you see these other colors here, the orange and the purple and the green, those are called secondary colors. Now, what's interesting about this lesson is that I used to teach primary grades, a long time ago. And one of the things that we did is we always did color mixing lessons. And in fact, the science before No Child Left Behind in first grade was primary colors. And so every kid got through elementary school with knowing all about color, a little bit about color theory, at least color mixing. Now, what happened was that over the years, with No Child Left Behind, I actually had friends who stayed in teaching elementary school, said they were so afraid they were going to get written up for doing art in the classroom. So I know that a lot of students, by the time I got them in junior high, they were pretty hungry for some art. And I'd ask, okay, what colors, how do you make orange? And they'd, I don't know, So let's go ahead and do this. So what we're doing is we're mixing up a nice healthy amount of each of the primary colors. Again, it's watercolor, so whoops, it's watercolor. So what happens with watercolor is that we're going to see some of the paper underneath, okay? If I need to mix some more, the thing I want you to remember is we're never mixing in the paint box, okay? So please, 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 please do not mix in the paint box. And I've got this blue. Now this blue is not the blue that I normally like to work with, but we're going to let it work for this one, okay? Okay, so I've got is kind of a nice bit of it here. So let's go ahead. I'm going to move my paint box over here. And I'm going to move my palette now that you know what it looks like. And I'm going to start with the first triad, okay? And a triad, tri means three. Three horns on a face for Triceratops. You can tell I was an elementary school teacher. Tricycle, 3 wheels. So let's go ahead and take a look at the yellow, and let's go ahead and just paint in a little square or a circle, it doesn't really matter what it is, of yellow. Now we want to wash our brush out, okay? And I'm going to take some red, and I'll put the red down here, okay? And then I want to wash my brush out, and I'm going to take some blue, and I'll put the blue here. Now this is the first triad of color. These are our primary colors, primary meaning first colors, okay? Now, the secondary colors, on the other hand, are going to be mixed from 2 primary colors. So I'm looking between red and yellow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this yellow, and I'll put it in here, okay? And what I'll do is I'll kind of squeeze it out here. Put some in there, okay? And then I'm going to wash my brush, and I'll take a little bit of that red, and I'm going to mix it together. Now I look at this and I can see maybe a little bit more yellow in there. And now what I've got is a nice orange, okay? Now you can see it's really light here, okay? I could add more color if I went into my paint box, but you can see that I'm not going into that orange that I already have pre-mixed. I'm going to make my own. Now, if I add a little bit more red to this, look what happens. I get a red-orange, okay? So it's a little bit more red-orange, okay? If I add a little bit more yellow to it, on the other hand, I get a yellow-orange, okay? And so now you can see that we're starting to get all those colors that we had, you know, that we get in the crayon box, okay? Now the next step is to look at here. We've got yellow and we've got blue, okay? So yellow and blue together make what? Everybody should be yelling green right about now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some blue here, and then I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm going to take some yellow, and I'm going to make a little bit of green here. I want to probably add a little bit more yellow to that, like this. And if I were comparing this to the green that was in my paint box, I could see that, yeah, it's looking pretty good, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put a nice thing of green there. Now, what I'm making with this, these and these, is we're looking at intermediate colors, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make more of a lime green here by adding a little bit more yellow to it, okay? And I didn't wash my brush, so I'm probably going to have to do something about that in a moment. Okay, so let's get that lime green going. And so here we have, oops, some lime green. I probably should have used watercolor paper, but oh well, or at least some heavier stuff than this printer paper. Okay, this is a take or toss assignment, meaning that I don't really worry about it so much. I just want to get this idea of color mixing. Now, green and blue together make, for those of you who like turquoise or aqua, and I like this for ocean scenes, you can see that I'm going to make something that's a little, oops, some of my dog hair, I think, came out. But I'm going to look at this, and I've got like kind of an aqua, so you can see. Now this is called an intermediate color. An intermediate color, or a tertiary color, is a mix of primary colors with a secondary color. So a secondary color is made by mixing 2 primary colors, and a intermediate or tertiary color is made by mixing a primary color with a secondary color, okay? So there's my part of my 12-part color wheel. Now, go ahead and take a look, and if you guys are, you know, to kind of know what you're doing, you know that the next thing I'm going to mix is I'm going to mix red and blue, And so what I'm going to do is get another well going. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it in this well. Okay, and I'm coming to the end so I can use as much as I want here. I'll add some red to it, and I might have to go back into my paint box. I'm not really sure. Yep, I'm gonna have to go back into my paint box for my red. I'll just make sure I wash my brush. And now what I've got is a violet. They call it violet. It needs a little bit more blue. But I want to get a purple, okay? So if I look at this, now I've got my purple. Voila, okay? Now, if I add a little bit of extra blue to it, okay, if I add some blue to it, I get something called indigo or blue violet, okay? So this is more of an indigo. It's got a little tiny bit of purple into it, but it's called indigo, okay? Remember that color wheel, or not the color wheel, what was it, the rainbow? Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And I remember when I was a kid, I was like, what the heck is indigo? So, okay, and then the last part is we're gonna go get some more red, and we're going to add more red to it, and we get a red violet with that. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in a different well so we can see the color a little bit better. I'll take a little bit more of this, okay? And slow down, you know, go ahead and pause the video and get it so that you're getting the color that you want. Slow it down, I'm going pretty fast here. But then the last one is this red violet, and you can see that now we have a 12-part color wheel here, okay? And this is absolutely gonna be a take or toss assignment. So you can see that here I've got my first triad, and those are the primary colors, okay? My second triad is going to be my secondary colors. Ooh, star, I guess it looks like the Star of David, okay? And then after that, we're making our tertiary or intermediate colors, okay? And this is important because, you know, you'll go into certain places looking for paints, and they're going to try to sell you everything. And there are certain paints that you know you can go ahead and mix up. Our next lesson is going to be on a value scale. So happy painting. Take some time to paint up something. You know, try out some of those brush strokes. Go ahead and take a look at online. You can find a lot about how to do brush strokes. And so you want to go ahead and kind of play around with that, okay? Okay, don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time, okay? Bye-bye.